quietly or there will be trouble.
Of course, machines can't think as people do. A machine is different.
What marvelous being! How gratifying! How gratifying!
So, yeah, there you are. They're fighting. So, tell me about it. How does one become a stuntman? How did you become a stuntman?
I became a stuntman through gymnastics. A lot of people get in through a specialty background. If they're martial artists, maybe their background is fighting. My gymnastics ability got me in through flying and falling would be my specialty. Some people grew up, racing cars, so they'd be prominent stunt drivers. But those are typically one of the three backgrounds you usually have coming into this kind of thing.
So there's specialties, like, are you a specialized fighter, like fight guy?
No, because as I said, I'm a gymnast, so I'm absolutely not a martial artist. So I usually am the guy that gets thrown down, get thrown through the air because flying and falling is my specialty. Somebody else would be the one jumping and spinning and kicking me dynamically.
So do they have to switch out stuntmen sometime? Like if you do the falling and then someone else does something?
So, interesting segue there, my friend. A gentleman by the name of Vic Armstrong, who wrote a book. So if anyone's really a fan of this franchise, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Harrison had two doubles, but Vic Armstrong looked a lot like Harrison. And he was on another movie, I think, in Mexico at the time. But when he came to where they were filming, even the first AD thought he was Harrison, even Steven Spielberg thought he was Harrison. So even though Harrison had two doubles for a huge film like this, Vic became one of the third doubles. He came from a horseback background. So he had one guy doubling him on the truck sequence, and he had another guy doubling him on other sequences. And Vic, after this film, became his double for the next two indies, and even coordinated some of the following indies. And he doubled him on Return of the Jedi and all that stuff. So it's interesting that a huge movie like this, Bond will have a lead double, but it'll also have doubles on the side, and they'll always have a double dialing the action. So when it's really Bond doing it, they're gonna have a stuntman do it first, and when he gets hurt, they're like, oh, let's change this. Or the stuntman will advise an actor like that, he can do it, but he has to do it this way.
He should use his left hand. He should put his foot there. So I know I'm rambling a bit, but.
No, you're not. No, this is what we all want to hear. So how much of it is, how much of a casting too do they want you to look like the actor?
We always have to grow out our hair, have beards, because we're like pallets. They're going to shave us to look like, I doubled Joe Dirt on the most recent Joe Dirt 2. But the funny thing is I had a full beard and they shaved it. Why? So they could glue yak hair to my face to look like David Spade, who really grew his hair like that, and they really altered it like that. So we always have to have long hair and beards so they can sculpt us. Women can't ever cut or color their hair because the production will pay for that if they need it. But yeah, we just have to be pallets that always can be made to look like anybody. In 1 week, I doubled a 20-year-old girl and a 60-year-old man, so it's a living.
Yeah. So wait, what stunts do they need for Joe Dirt? Like, it's such a random movie that you wouldn't think of as a stuntman. This obviously had tons of stuntmen, but.
A lot of comedy, actions obviously have a lot of stunts, and comedies have stunts. So whether it's just getting hit in the head with a cymbal or getting kicked in the groin region,
It's funny.
Sometimes the actors don't want to do it, or sometimes the actors are on another unit doing more important or time-sensitive work. So it can be light work or it can be very dangerous work. Harrison really did get dragged behind a truck in this movie, but he broke his ribs in the process. So they really want to see his face, but certain sequences, even the producers are like, nope, too dangerous, you need a double. So that's why somebody like Vic Armstrong comes in, because he looks face on enough like Harrison that he doesn't have to hide from the camera. They don't have to do angles to hide that it's not really him. So.
And you're working with the actual director every time, right? The director is directing you in the same time. And is it really like, okay, stop, okay, main actor out, okay, throw him in there and make him do all this stuff? Is it really like that? Like, are they?
Yeah, I think if I'm interpreting your question correctly, there's sometimes that you work on huge movies and you are a small piece in a huge machine. So sometimes, through no fault of their own, the director or the actor you're doubling won't know your name, you won't shake their hand, they won't get to meet you. You are just like a disposable, get in there, okay, next. And other times you will have a close relationship working with them for like months at a time. It really all depends on the show and the nature of the stunt you're doing.
So, like you said, you got in through this through being a gymnast. Was it something you wanted to do and you're like, I'm going to do this? Or was it like, oh, your buddy called you and you needed to jump off a building?
So I think, as we were talking about in the lobby, I think most young boys, probably a lot in this audience, we all play cowboys and Indians, cops and robbers. We all pretend to get shot and play dead. And I think then we equate that to being an actor. When in reality, what you're doing is you're pretending to be a stunt person without realizing it. You're just emulating something you saw on the screen. So I think a lot of young boys grow up, and some girls, wanting to do that, but don't realize it's a viable way to make a living. For me, it was through a chance meeting that somebody I competed gymnastics with was doing it in a theme park. And when I found out, I just latched onto him. He brought me to auditions the next year, and I did a theme park 5 times a day for 2 years. And I got paid next to nothing, but I loved it, and I found I was good at it. But I wanted more, so through that, I got into doing non-union stunts for the History Channel. They're doing a Civil War series. So I did a Wild West stunt show 5 times a day for 2 years. Then I learned Civil War stunts for TV, and I got my SAG card on a Civil War film for 6 months. So I very slowly, organically learned the old school gags, and then I learned how to do stunt driving and fire burns and more modern stuff. So my progression was slow and very natural.
So, and you're learning all this, I think we talked a little bit, you're learning this through mentors and people teaching you how to stunt drive, basically?
Absolutely. When you're at the stunt show, there's like an entertainment manager and show captains that are teaching you every gag. My first stunt I did was an 8-foot backfall. Somebody's holding me by the shirt, and it's comedic. They're like, let him go, and he's like, okay. And it's funny, as a gymnast, we're taught to land on our feet, but it was kind of terrifying. I was only falling 8 feet, but most of us don't fall backwards blindly, and they taught me every gag on that show. When I got to the Civil War TV show, they taught me every gag because I'd never hit someone with an axe handle. I'd never used a squib, which is a firing mechanism. You push a detonator and blood spurts out of your costume or wardrobe. And so I learned every stunt on the way, along the way. And mentors, you need them. You won't get far without them. And it's tough. But
do you still find a stunt that's kind of like raises your adrenaline? I don't want to say scared, but like makes you like, oh my God, I'm really going to do this?
Always. And the trick is stunt people have to employ a lot of mind over matter. I mean, what we do is just, it goes against every fiber of your being. The very first high fall I did, like if you're here at the edge of the building and you're getting ready to go, no, there's party that doesn't want to do this. But then when you get to that tipping point, you realize you have to commit. You can't stop and do a false start. And every job we do is like that.
Well, since you're up, I mean, can I ask you really quick, like when you're punching, do you take a lot of the punch or do you take none of the punch? Do you really you're working, it's like almost a dance, right? And do you work with the other guy a lot?
The preferred method since John Wayne, back before John Wayne, actors really hit each other. And actors, and there weren't really stunt people. So in a barroom brawl, people were really getting hit in the face. And John Wayne found that it was dangerous, people getting hurt, and it didn't look good on film. When you really hit someone, it doesn't sound good, and it looks better if you, from a couple feet away, inches away, just snap the reaction like that. And Harrison Ford's a master of that. So you really see him taking a punch and giving a punch. And certain movies like Sherlock Holmes, they'll do it in they'll crank, what am I trying to say? The film speed. So you'll see that slow motion. They have to really hit, but it's lighter. And actors that don't have good control will really hit us, and that's why we're stuntmen. But these days, most of it is and should be faked. It isn't always. And Carrie-Anne Moss in The Matrix was really kicking stunt guys in the head because she had to. She's not a trained stunt woman, and it looked great, and the stunt guys were willing to take it. So we still do get hit by method actors or for certain shots that require it, but for the most part, we have to repeat it many times throughout a long day. So, yeah.
And then directors, obviously, Spielberg was so good at making the sound. Like when he's fighting the German guy in the plane, and no one hits a punch that goes, such a powerful.
If any of you guys don't already know about the website, the Internet Movie Database, imdb.com, there's a huge trivia section for this movie alone, where the sound designer Ben Burt won Oscars for sound design, and the punches were created by, he'd take a baseball bat and hit leather jackets with it, like. So those great sounds were just another, like the Ark and the Covenant being opened was him and his toilet lid just going like. So the magic of the movies, even the sound design, helps sell punches that on set you wouldn't hear a sound.
I think I just have the next Science on Screen movie that I'm going to figure out. Get a sound guy. We're going to open up to questions. If you have a question in the audience, raise your hand and someone will come with you with a mic. There's a couple down here, and a couple over there. I'll ask the question while they get to them. You've met Vic Armstrong?
I have.
And is he a pretty incredible person? Or?
I mean, you meet the guy, and it's just like you've seen all his movies. He's doubled Bond, he's doubled Superman. He basically was Indiana Jones, and even we have to be very professional with who we work with, actor-wise. But to meet a fellow stunt person of legendary status, that's kind of when we get a little starstruck. Like, hey, Mr. Armstrong.
Ever gotten hurt doing your job?
All the time. The difference is for stunts, cuts, scrapes, and bruises are part of our job. Sprained ankles are. But anytime you break a bone or something, you usually messed up. And if somebody ever gets really seriously hurt or hospitalized, there's more than just one person messed up. Either their coordinator shouldn't let you do it, you shouldn't have agreed to do it, the camera operator, there's ways to make it safer. So we always get hurt a little bit, but we're like highly paid, highly skilled athletes that wreck on purpose.
Cool. Question over here.
How do you make the people dead but not dead?
Yes, I would like to know that too.
All right, so I think we should do a very quick impromptu demonstration.
Do you need to move the chairs, or
Nah, we'll leave them.
do I say that or not?
Through acting, technique, and training, what we do hurts, but it's like any other sport. Do you play any sports yourself? Okay, so if you play baseball, when I play baseball, occasionally the pitcher would maybe accidentally hit you with the ball. You know what I mean? So there's a move we do where you get flipped on our back. I'm not going to do it with clay, but if you're going to flip onto your back, it's going to hurt, right? There's techniques you can use to make it hurt less. If you just give me a little.
Oh yeah, of course.
So how do I throw my punch? I can grab my arm, you can grab my arm and go.
Whoa. That was pretty cool. You okay? Oh, very nice. That's impressive.
What I did was a technique where I'm hitting with my feet first. Hopefully you guys, I created the illusion that maybe had he grabbed my arm and they cut to a different camera angle, but I really landed with my feet first. Sometimes you can land with 4 arms and 2 arms, 2 feet. Sometimes you can't land with anything, but sometimes I'm not wearing one, but sometimes you can wear a back pad, a tailbone protector, hip pads, elbow pads. So if our wardrobe lets us get away with it, when Harrison's getting dragged by the truck, he's got something under to protect his chest. And that's going to let him do it for many, many takes. So if it's an actor, we're going to pad him up or we're going to make it safe. If it's us, we have to rely on our training to allow us to keep doing it.
But you said Harrison broke some ribs on that, right?
Even that stunt he did, yes.
Question back here.
Do you ever do you ever get a cut from do they actually have fake blood pouring down your arm when you get a scar or something?
So you asked this earlier, but a job I did, I think last year, the TV show Gotham, a whole bunch of us had to, and I've done it a couple times on Gotham actually, but I've run and jumped through a plate of glass. And sometimes it'll be a high fall on the other side, or sometimes you land on your feet. And I'm getting to your question, but the last time we did this, they're counting down 3, 2, and I'm just like, what am I doing? I had this thought of this is how I make my living. I'm about to run and jump through glass. So one of the things we can do is protect our face and our eyes by kind of making an X like this, so that our hands might get cut. But anytime you jump through glass, you usually get cut a little bit. So you have you're not shaving. Those of you who are already shaving know what I mean, but you get little razor cuts. And, they clean it up, and if you have to do another take, you're fine. But then after you've gone through the glass, that's when they always apply fake blood to make it look even worse than it is. Because when we go through, it's negligible. You might need some stitches. But no, that's where the other wardrobes come in. They'll distress the wardrobe to make it look like you're cut from the glass, and they'll add fake blood everywhere. And then they'll clean it up because you have to do another take. So the blood is usually not ours. And then when you see the effect on screen, it's always added by another department like hair, makeup, and wardrobe, just blooding you up.
What is the glass?
I'm sorry?
Is the glass sugar? I always heard it was sugar.
So there's a term called candy glass, sugar glass, because back in the day, it legitimately was like candy. You'd cook it in the oven. It'd be very brittle. It would be very opaque. And the problem is in our hot movie lights like this, it would start to melt. and it wouldn't stay in place. So there's a finite amount of time you could use it before it would just be so brittle it would crack. And it wouldn't look good, it wouldn't be clear. So there's different kinds of tempered glass. There's about 3 different kinds of glass that we use on sets, and it all depends on what we're going through. So yeah, essentially these days, it's kind of like a candy glass, but it's the more modern version. They have a term called rubber glass. So anytime an actor's walking barefoot on glass, it feels like soft rubber. You can just see right through it though, so.
Cool. Nathaniel?
So I was in an acting camp and they said that you would, if like the camera is facing your side, then you would punch and then you would, like if you were punching somebody, you would hit your leg while you were doing it.
That's a stage combat technique, and the term they use is called a nap. I don't know why they call it that, but so if I'm hitting, again, here's Clayton in front of me. On movies, we have a sound designer that does the nap for us, but when you're in a stage combat or if you're in a theatrical setting, you kind of have to make the sound yourself, yeah. So that's valid.
Olivia?
What is the most dangerous stunt you've ever done?
I've done high falls, and I love high falls even though I'm afraid of heights. Just flying through the air is fun. I've done full body burns, which you always get burned a little bit, but if you do it right, you're not going to get burned a lot of it. And the scariest stunt I've done didn't involve me so much as I had a 12-year-old boy in the middle of a road. A bully had thrown his bike into the road, and his character goes to get it out of the road when a car, skids to a stop and almost hits him. And that was terrifying for me because I worked with a little boy. I dialed it in. I put a cone here, and I told the boy to stand to the side of the cone, and I showed him that, look, I'm not going to hit the cone. And then I had him stand behind the cone. I was like, look, I'm not going to hit the cone. And then we moved the cone out of the way and put him there. And then I gave him permission. I was like, I want you to get out of the way if you're afraid. So for the first take, he ruined the take. I skidded in and he ran. And I was like, good, I'm proud of you. That was awesome. If you don't feel comfortable, I want you to run out every time. And take 2, he didn't run. It was great. And take 3, he didn't run. And then it was terrifying for me because he was blasé. He's a young boy. He's like, he's not going to hit me. Yeah. And I'm like, what if the brakes go? So that was a scary stunt for me because it involved a person other than myself. If I'm going through the glass, I'm in control of the speed, the angle, where I'm heading. But involving another person, particularly a non-actor, definitely. That's scarier for me than anything I'll do individually.
Mary?
Do you sometimes use wires?
Yes. Anytime we're flying through the air, there's a device called a ratchet. It's like a pneumatic piston that will wear a harness. Imagine a line that's kind of tied to our back, a wire, and it'll yank us very quickly. It can yank us high, it can yank us far, it can yank us across a stage in an instant. So anytime the Harry Potter movies, you see them flying, they're on a wire. Superman is usually on a wire, and it's become a very specialized form in stunt work. So people that are good at flying through the air at wire work.
Is there any movie you wish you worked on if you're in the past or any?
I mean,
in this one,
there's a whole Indiana Jones stunt show because of this movie, and I'm friends with one of the guys who was the lead Indy down there for 10 years, and he's really good with a whip.
Yes, fine, sir.
Were there any stunts where you felt that you were not in control of what was happening? Like you felt like you were going to get seriously injured or did?
To be honest, a lot of times we'll see stunts and they'll look pretty easy. You have to stumble and pretend to fall. And a lot of people in the room, myself included, you'll see something and be like, I could do that. I want to do that. So I'd say a lot of times, 8 out of 10 jobs we'll do are considered relatively easy, maybe not that dangerous. And then let me think, the 9 out of 10 jobs would be one that you're kind of like hesitant about. You're like, oof, I don't know, there's a lot that could go wrong, and you kind of, and then there's that one job that you will lose sleep over because you could lose your life doing. So there are rarely, but those jobs that you'll not be able to sleep the night before. You'll be pacing. Everyone else will go to lunch, and you'll just be standing there at the spot trying to visualize it going positively. And in most cases, it does. But we lose colleagues every year. There's a famous movie last year, I think it was Resident Evil, where the poor woman doubling Mila Jovovich is just riding a motorcycle towards the camera, and the camera's supposed to lift up out of the way at the last second for her to pass under. And it's the kind of job that a producer would be like, we want to see Milla's face. We want to see her coming right to the camera as it moves. And for whatever reason, they had a double do it. And the camera malfunctioned. The camera didn't move. And she hit at full speed. She wrecked. She's like partially paralyzed. She had to have an arm amputated. And you could see her before that stunt going, it's easy. I'm just going to ride and the camera's going to move. But I'm sure that's not one she lost sleep over. And unfortunately, it has permanently affected her life. So there are those jobs that definitely give us cause for pause.
What's the average time you're on a movie set? Like 1 day, 10 days, a month? Yeah, I guess it depends.
So an average TV show is about an 8-day shoot. And if it's a talking head kind of show, there's not always going to be a lot of stunts, maybe a day or two. If it's an action type TV show, there could be stunts every day, or at least doubles working every day, rehearsing fights. And that, like Gotham is a very stunt intensive TV show. Person of Interest is a very stunt intensive TV show. In movies, again, it depends. Sometimes it could be 6 months of work. Sometimes it could be only a day. It really depends on the script, the budget, and directors really want to see a lot of the actors' faces. They don't want to see us. And actors often want to do a lot of their own stunt work too. So that still involves us to be there to rehearse it and dial it in, but it really depends, yeah.
When I was looking for a stuntman, I noticed that a lot of you, including yourself, you seem to used to be based in LA and now are based in New York. Is that true? I mean, is that
LA always was like the #1 market. I mean, that's Hollywood. And New York always was #2. But LA lost some incentives. They made it harder to film, which is why we had runaway productions to places like Canada, places that are cheaper to film. So now all the work has been distributed within the US for better, for worse in individual states. Like Detroit is picking up.
Atlanta, right?
New Mexico is a big market, and Atlanta right now is bigger than LA in terms of film work. Marvel built studios down there. So
it's crazy.
You kind of either have to work everywhere or you have to move somewhere, or it's good for us that it's not going to other countries, but now we're fighting where in the States, what films. So
yeah. Question back there. Miles.
Have you ever did a stunt off a plane?
I have not. My father actually used to fly helicopters in the Navy, and I'm kind of bummed that I've never gotten to do a stunt with a helicopter yet either, but hopefully someday.
Question in the back.
Yes, my son wants to know what movies and TV shows you've been in recently.
Again, and there's a website, IMDb, that you can look. I've been on
117, I think.
Thank you. Over 100. And there's a movie called Independence Day, Resurgence, coming out on the 24th that I got to be a part of. So that's one movie coming out soon that I'm really looking forward to see.
All right. You want to do this?
Let's do this.
We're going to do a trick. I'm going to either lose my arm or have a lot of fun. Or both. He brought a whip. You think?
This is best done with a pretty lady and a rose in her mouth, but for today we'll just have to settle for clay and a chop.
An ugly dude with the chopsticks.
If you'd be so kind as to hold this,
Yeah.
face out.
Like this? I'll have the mic up here so I can scream. Like this? No, it's. I'm shaking. I'm not that scared, but it's good. Very good. Matthew Staley, you can free pill to talk to him in the lobby afterwards. Thank you very much, Matthew. That's fantastic. You're great. I'll duck. Like this?
Duck. All the way down. All the way down. This is called the Indiana Jones crack.
Oh, right.
In whipping terms, the Western arts is called an overhead crack, but ever since this movie came out, Indiana Jones is immortalized.
Very nice. Thank you very much, Matthew. Thanks for coming. We'll see you this summer.